So the Fantastic Four First Steps just came out last weekend, and the question on everyone's mind was, is this finally a good Fantastic Four movie? We all know the FF have had a cinematic history ranging from meh to dear God, kill it with fire. But was this the film to finally redeem Marvel's first family? Well, today we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the outright fantastic parts of the Fantastic Four First Steps. Spoilers, if you weren't aware. So what works well here? Well, the most important and improved thing from the previous films is that the four actually feel like a family. Finally. The FF have always been a family first and foremost. They aren't like the Avengers, who act more like coworkers than anything. These characters all love and care for one another, and small little things like family dinners every week really adds the little spices of life that the other versions kind of lack. The four themselves are also all really well characterized. As I expected, Vanessa Kirby steals the show as Sue. She is far and away the leader of the team, and while she is clever and compassionate, she is also not one to take shit from anyone, and she gets the job done. Reed is also a highlight. Pedro Pascal plays into Reed's kind of careless and autistic traits very well. He always has to think of the worst so that he can solve everything before it gets to, that point where it's horrible. And his chemistry with Kirby is phenomenal, and I really believe these two are two people who love each other, even though Reed has very obviously forgetful flaws. And to my surprise, I was actually a huge fan of Joseph Quinn as Johnny. I was not a fan at all of this casting when it first was announced, as I only knew Quinn from Stranger Things, but he really sold me on his Human Torch. Cocky, but not too cocky where he's a dick. I honestly thought Johnny had the best side arc of the movie, with him proving he's just as smart as the other three and really showing some vulnerability. The retro-futuristic world of 828 was also a breath of fresh air. Having the four not be connected to the greater MCU was the absolute best thing they could have did for this movie. And the 60s aesthetic and clothing really gave this movie a style I hope they keep in the future FF movies. And the score by Michael Giacchino, stellar, amazing. It's up there with some of his best superhero scores. I think it's right above his Spider-Man trilogy score, but it's also right below the Batman for me personally. I think it's his second best superhero score. And the final good thing I want to talk about is the Silver Surfer. Julia Garner did a great job portraying someone who basically gave up her whole life just so her planet could be saved. The sacrifice that takes. And she switches between this cold and heartless Harold to a motherly figure in a snap, and I thought it was a good performance. But that's most of the good things I can think about the film. Sadly, there are some bad things, so let's talk about them. You'll notice how I left out one particular orange, rocky member of the team, and that's because out of the four, I enjoyed Ebon Moss-Bachrach's Ben Grimm the least. It's not that he was bad. He was quite enjoyable. I liked his performance, but he definitely had the least to do out of all the four. The CGI for the Thing looks great, and while I still prefer a practical costume similar to Michael Chiklis' incarnation, this is leagues better than Jamie Bell's Thing from 2015. I just hope he gets more to do in the next one. The rest of the side cast are basically wasted. I honestly could not name another of the characters who aren't the four or their villains. Did we really have to have this school teacher character when Alicia Masters was right there with a more rich backstory? On the effects side, there was some wonky CGI, especially when it came to Franklin. There were some scenes where it was very obvious that baby was not there, and it kind of took me out of the story a little bit. And there was a scene where Joseph Quinn looks like it's like the Brendan Fraser meme, if you kind of know what I'm talking about. But I'll put a picture of it on the screen. The four also barely use any of their powers. Johnny's kind of the only one that actually consistently uses his powers throughout the film. If you told me what's Mr. Fantastic's power and my only experience was this movie, I would probably not even realize he can stretch. The biggest complaint, while it is an improvement over his last appearance, we barely saw any of Galactus still. Granted, he wasn't a big cloud this time, but we still barely saw the guy, and out of everyone's costume, I think his looked ugly. You're doing these fantastical colors for every other. Just make him pink and purple. He looks so cool. Everyone else looks so cool. Why not just make Galactus cool looking? Nobody likes this grayish purple look. Ralph at least delivers some great lines. A menacing performance. His voice is booming, and I really felt his presence, especially on the scenes on Earth. The scenes on Earth are pretty good, but I hope he's not gone. I hope Galactus kind of shows up again in a future movie. But let's get to the final verdict. So let's just get to the question I asked in the beginning of the review. Was this the film to finally redeem the Fantastic Four for moviegoing and general audiences? I can say that this is definitely the best Fantastic Four movie by a mile. Sure, that's not a high bar to pass, as the other FFs have ranged, like I said, from meh to oh. But I'm glad that after 31 years of attempts, we finally got a good Fantastic Four flick. Now, is this up there with some of the Marvel's best? No, not even close. But for the first time in a long time, I can finally say, Marvel, you've made 2 good movies in a row again. I'm proud of you. Now, don't F it up with Doomsday. I'm serious. This is going to be a mess of a movie. Don't mess it up. See you later.